Hey, what's up, guys? Sharp Tony here. One of the biggest questions, most frequent questions I get asked is, Sharp, what profession deals the most damage? What's the biggest damage prof in AO? And it's kind of hard to narrow it down to one because it's always situational. Not every profession is built the same way. Not every profession is built to have this insane amount of damage. But if you want to know a top five in no order, what I normally tell people is I'm going to say nanotechnician normally in any raid or anywhere is going to take number one. Then you got the shade, you got the engineer, you got the crat. In certain instances, martial artist or a soldier. You know, it's really, really hard to tell because a lot of times a martial artist in an APF may win damage because the mobs have much lower ACs. But instead of debating which profession actually is going to lead the damage charts, how about we talk about how to get to being frickin' the strongest dude in the frickin' game? How about we talk, let's talk about that, son. Let's talk about how we get that big bang bang, that big damage where we can't play no games, where we're frickin' the man, where we're the best thing there is. Because I guarantee you, every single profession can do great damage. Except for maybe a few. Doctor is kind of hard, but you can do damage as a doctor too. It's just not as easy. Normally if you have ads, it helps. But let's get into some of the things that are going to help you do some damage. So today, guys, I'm going to show you how to deal that big damage. What's up, baby? So if you truly want to be about that action, one of the things obviously you're going to have to focus the most on is your choice of weapons. For instance, if you decide for some reason you want to get this thing on, if we look at the damage here, you know what, not so good. But if we take a peek over at perhaps a different weapon, and no, those alphas are sitting in my inventory, didn't do them yet. We take a peek over at a different weapon. Aha! If we see here, the damage is not really comparable. 310 to 490 with a 5. This, in parentheses, is crit, and we're going to get into that later, because that's very important for your overall damage. But the better quality weapon you could get with the better damage is better, obviously. You don't want a low minimum damage. For instance, the minimum damage on this is 6. That's very, very low. Obviously, this scales with you as your attack skills rise and such. But you want to have a nice minimum damage on the weapon and a nice crit. And the other thing is, you don't want the weapon to be too slow. This is where your initiatives come in. You need initiatives to hit quicker. If you go into the skills menu, you could see speed, and you have your initiatives here. Martial artist is the only thing that really is affected by physical initiative. Actually, reverse that statement. But what I'm trying to say here is the quicker your initiatives, the quicker you'll hit. As you see here, the speed on this is 1.5 for attack and 1.5 for recharge. And once you move your slider towards defensive, you become slower. So by counteracting this, you would raise the initiative that the weapon requires, which is said here on the weapon. Where is it? Initiative. See right here, right under equipment delay. Initiative, physical prowess, and martial arts initiative. That will make you attack quicker. So definitely, two things we just covered there. Your attack damage, speed, and minimum damage. That was 3 things. My bad. Let's move on. Now we're going to talk about your add all off. Your add all off actually adds to your attack rating. I'm not fully buffed right now, so excuse the only 3,000 attack rating. Your attack rating increases your chances to hit a mob. And with each point of attack rating, generally, on a mob that you are hitting normally, every point in attack rating that you have will add 1 point of damage. The other thing that's going to add to damage, other than add all off, is 2 things. One, your actual attack skill. The higher your attack skill, obviously the higher your damage is going to be. So whatever you can get to raise your attack skill is a good thing. The other thing that's going to help out here is if you see here on this piece of armor, not only does it, this is a very rare piece of armor, might I add. This has add all off, which is great, but it also has add all damage. You see that? Well, not add all damage, add damage. There are certain items in this game, and I will show you a skeleton of a toon later. Not a skeleton, a model, perhaps, for purposes of this. This adds to your damage. 10 for each hit. That adds up. It doesn't seem like a lot. It really doesn't. But trust me, it works, especially when you have things here that are going to add 75 to your offense. This will add pretty much aside from the trickle, 150 damage, give or take a few. I know people are going to want to get really intricate about it, exactly how many points it's going to give you. But there's another thing. So what we just covered is the more add damage you can get, the more add all off you could get, and the higher the skill you could get. You can actually put these into implants too. As we look here, we get fire damage from this wrist, which is amazing. And you do get add all off from your implants as well. You could implant or symbiont them. Froobs could also make implants that add to this. So let's move on. Now looking a little further into it, if you really can't play no games, if you're about that action, you live that lifestyle, the other thing you want is critical increase. There are tons of items that add to it. If we look here, there's actually a very common item you can get on if your clan at level 1. It destroys your initiatives. It does make you slower, but it has a critical increase of 9. It pretty much acts as a scale of 100. How can I explain this better? For every point... No, that's probably the best way to explain it. This is your percent. And there are certain professions that do get critical buffs too. And there's a lot of armor that adds to it. If you see here, this adds to it, this adds to it. This scope actually adds more with 14. And then we have other items here that just add to other things. There are no implants for critical hit though, might I add. There are no implants for critical hit. If we look here, the martial artist does get a critical hit buff. That adds to 24. And we also get a perk that adds... No, it's debilitating fist. Yes. 19. So if we look, I could do a lot of things to get to 70% critical chance right away. There are perks and there's armor. There's tons of armor, even starting at low levels, that will help your critical hit out. There's also crit decrease. To clarify this does not decrease your crit. This does not decrease your critical hits. It decreases the amount your opponent can critically hit you. And here's where it comes into effect. As I said before, you see this number in parentheses next to your damage. This is your crit. This adds to the damage you're already doing. So, the more often you crit, hypothetically, instead of only doing 490 damage, you'd be doing 990 damage. So the more often you crit, the more damage you will be doing per hit. I can't stress how important critical hit is if you truly want to do that big damage. Crit increase, 5. Boom, baby, boom! That's good. That's good. That's bang, bang. So the higher, even in right now, which is a slightly PvP setup, I make sure my crit's high, so when I'm hitting people, it does a lot of damage, especially for martial artists. Their hands critting is a big, big thing. That's where a lot of my damage comes from. So when you put all of those things together for melee professions and range professions, you could really start doing some damage. Let's move over to the casting professions now. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. For casting professions like this nanotechnician we have here, critical increase does not affect your nukes. No matter what nuke you are casting, it will not be affected by crit. You know what it will be affected by? Is if we take a look here, I should have some here. There we go. It's a crappy quality level, but what we see here is direct nano damage efficiency, 3%. So what it does is it adds a 3% damage increase to all your nukes. And that is how you stack damage as a casting profession, or especially if you're a nanotechnician, it really helps to absolutely destroy the nano resist of your target. That is very important. So I will cover that again. The only way you're going to largely increase the amount you do with your nukes is through increasing your direct nano damage efficiency. The higher you grab that percent, the higher you can get things to. For example, this only does 3,300 damage to 6,400 damage. If we put this other nice scope on, instead of this defensive thing, let's see what we go up to now. So we brought that up 1,600 on the maximum, and almost 1,000 on the minimum. That adds up over time. And especially if we work to debuff our target and make them weaker, it helps out a lot. Now, perhaps if you're a metaphysicist or a bureaucrat or some other profession, even an engineer, they don't really get nukes, but they do get pets. This is where you could start stacking damage if you are a pet profession. You could add to your direct nano damage efficiency, which I don't think I'm in that setup right now. You could also add to your crit, and you could also add to your actual damage, and you could buff your pets, which honestly starts leading into a whole ton of extra damage. For example, you could, let me see, should I go kill that guard, I guess? Because I am in Nascents, not a good place to show damage stacks. I've shown it here before, but if you would like, you send the pet in, you have yourself in, you shoot in between your nukes. That is very important. If you could time your nukes well enough to shoot in between them, if you look at the attack bar here, and then you could also get your perks going off, you have your pet attacking, and you put yourself in a good situation very quickly. This is how bureaucrats are able to stack so much damage so quickly. In case anybody ever wondered how a bureaucrat was so good. Because they do get 2 pets, they get a charmed pet, they can have up to 2 charmed pets, if they do so desire. They get all this add-all damage, they get all this add-all off from their perk sets, and it just adds for a really bad time for everybody else. So now, let's take a look at a Sloob tune I made, who only has a Shadowland expansion, that probably does more damage than any tune you could imagine right now. So, let's hop over to him, and put all of this together. Now guys, putting everything together. I'm on a 117, obviously no AI keeper. 117 keeper. But let's see how everything was brought together. We have this nice weapon here. I don't want to get attacked by him yet, because we're going to go over to him. I have this nice weapon here. Kind of crappy minimum damage, but nice high damage and a nice crit. And it's very quick actually, which is good too. Although I am slightly defensive. I did IP my melee initiative. I actually have it maxed out, because that is very important. Let's take a look at the HUD here. We have a crit with a crit increase of 9. Going over to the armor, and I'm just saying this is a really, really cheap setup too. A cheap item that's going to add to your crit is going to be the Predator Circlet. It has 1 crit increase. You could probably get this for a few million, and that's it. It's that cheap and that good. The rest of the stuff is just Keeper Tier 1. Here we have a Barrow Strength, which is an item you can get very, very easily down in, Temple of 3 Winds. And, we've got some friends, so let's see how much damage we're going to be doing as this little keeper. And then, as you see here, I'm not really getting hit either, because I do have my evades max. I'd like to pop a crit off on one of these things. Usually I crit hecklers for close to 3,000. We are doing great damage, but no big crits yet. See, we're not getting hurt, and we're dropping these things like flies. And the XP is kind of good, too. But the trick here is, after you have all this stuff on, we have a Dolge's Ring of Power here. 15 add-all off, 20 add-all def. We got this ring. This ring cost me like 500k. Add melee damage, 18. 18 for each hit that I will do. That's insanity. And this backpack adds 50 to my melee initiative, and 50 to range initiative if you're a range tune. But what we could do here is we could type stats in. Almost every bot has the plugin. And if you want to see your add all off, let's see how much we have. We have 59 there. We have, let's check our crit increase. 10. Not great, but good enough. Good enough for this level. And we do melee damage, so let's check our add melee damage. 87. So if you add that all up, add up all those things that you just saw there. Let's see how much damage we're really going to do. Let's see what our crit's going to be. 2681, which is insanity. 2681 crit. And these mobs drop like crazy. Every single heckler team I've been in, see the low damage is kind of crappy, but every single heckler team I've been in, I have destroyed every fully paid tune in there. 2697 crit. And we could get crit buffs, and we could do others. We could get damage buffs. We could do stuff that's going to add to our damage too. There are damage buffs in this game. So guys, and if you haven't, check out the Let's Play. If you want to see some crazy damage, my trader just goes like crazy. He can kill everything. So we're critting for almost 3,000, and we're in a setup that really you could get on at like level 60. That's the crazy part. This setup is pretty dated at this point. So there are upgrades I could do to make the crit even better, but just to show you, on a tune that hasn't really had much time investment and hasn't really had much money investment either, I could look hot and do great damage. So if you guys got any questions, please leave them below. And let me see the damage you guys are doing on your tunes. So check me out. Show me to your friends. Show your friends what it's like to be a boss in this game and show them how much damage you could do. Peace.